Welcome back to episode 110 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. It is a new year, 2025. It is the first ATD Baseball Podcast episode of 2025. Happy New Year, if you could still say that. And January 6th, some of you celebrate another event today for some reason. Yeah, we're starting off 2025 on a good note. Yes, I love the jokes. So
We're starting off strong
happy
here.
happy New Year and happy to a certain group of people that celebrate this day for some weird reason. Anyways, um, before we get into topics, and we kind of did have to look at the bottom of the barrel a little bit here, but we did find some topics because there were some signings. Um, but before we get into that, Kyle, how was your New Year's and how are you doing today?
Oh man, it was good, man. Got to spend some time with my wife's family and a little bit with mine. We I said this last week. It was different, man. It's different now, but no, it was great overall. Happy New Year to you and your family as well. Um, Yeah, man. I'm doing good. I can't complain. It's a new year, fresh start, all this other jazz. And, you know, yeah, like as you mentioned, this week wasn't the greatest for baseball news, but we got a couple topics here. We got a pretty big one, and then we got some smaller moves that went on. So, other than that, man, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Uh, got to do some bowling with my family New Year's Eve. New Year's Day did my tradition of going to the Rose Bowl game with my brother, so that was fun. Got to see it was a horrible game. Got to see Ohio State kick the shit out of Oregon. That wasn't fun. Um, I know you got to see Penn State kick the shit out of uh, Boise State. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was a very very good New Year. Very New Year. It's quiet. It was very quiet. Usually, I'm not used to quiet New Year's Eves. I'm used to loud, obnoxious, but not this year. So it was a nice change of things. But
That's good, man.
um, doing well. And now we will jump right in to the first couple topics of 2025. We're gonna start off at the top here because I think it's worth noting. Um, San Diego Padres again. Well, first of all, we're going to be discussing. See, I already messed this up. We're discussing the San Diego Padres lawsuit, apparently turmoil with ownership. Um, Gavin Lux, this trade just happened about an hour ago. He's getting traded to Cincinnati. We got the Luis Arraez rumors. We got Michael Lorenzen signing a 1 year deal. Hyeseong Kim, welcome to the Dodgers. Didn't see that coming. And then we got 60-year-old Charlie Morton going to Baltimore as Corbin Burns' replacement. So
If that's what you want to
yeah,
call
yeah. But we will start off with I think the biggest news, and it doesn't involve any signings. It involves the San Diego Padres. So this report, I believe, came out today. If not, it came out. Yes, it came out today. Um, Obviously, as we know, Peter Seidler was the owner of the San Diego Padres. He's looked upon as a hero, as he should, in the San Diego area. Obviously, we know he passed away. I think right before the beginning of this season. I think, yeah, like
it. Yeah.
early 2024. Um, I didn't know this, but apparently there's turmoil now with the family. His widow, his wife, is suing has filed a lawsuit against the two brothers, Peter Seidler's brothers, for control of the San Diego Padres. And part of it, and part of the reason why this is happening is because she fears that the brothers could sell the team or relocate the San Diego Padres, along with some other stuff. Like it's to the little petty stuff where, the brothers don't even allow the family inside their box. Like apparently the two brothers were very sexual and, making racist remarks to her of, why she can't be the owner of the team and stuff like that, which is very shitty, to be honest with you. Um, I'm just gonna start off right off the bat here because um, it's very, San Diego's very close from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's just a trip up the 5 freeway. You got to go through a lot of bullshit traffic to get there, but um, still, San Diego is a beautiful city. It's a baseball town, and listen, the city of San Diego has gone through enough shit. The Chargers left town. You know, they've never been taken seriously as a sports town.
Mm.
No, but the Padres are the one thing that city can rally behind and hold their hat to and give that community something to look forward to every year. The Padres, and especially the last couple of years because they've been good. Um, I would be very I as a Dodger fan, taking my Dodger hat off for a second. I would be very upset if the San Diego Padres relocated out of San Diego. That just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't. Like there's certain franchises, not just in baseball but in sports, I could never see relocating. Now, unfortunately, the Oakland A's were on that list of teams that I thought would never leave, but of course, other stuff happens. But the San Diego Padres to me are one of those teams that I just can't see them leaving San Diego. How can you take the city's number one market team out of San Diego? It just makes no sense to me. Like, if you're the brothers, if you're Peter Seidler's brothers, what are you getting out of that other than money? And, who knows what happens in Vegas with the A's. But for all we know, John Fisher, he's going to be flat on his face in a couple of years because it's not going to work. There's no guarantee that these relocations work. Um, it just doesn't sit right with me. Um, I didn't even know this was an issue. Listen, I knew the Padres had financial issues. Now, part of it is because they've given out some crazy contracts to, Jake Cronenworth. They gave him an extension. He hasn't done much since 2022. They gave an outrageous contract to Xander Bogaerts, which in the moment everybody knew was not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they had problems with the ownership and problems within the family.
Yeah.
And now this is going to be a lingering thing that's going to go on into the baseball season because now, and the Padre fan has every right to be afraid and scared of the future of their team because they already lost the Chargers. I know they're up the road, but I know many Charger fans that are not Charger fans anymore because they left San Diego. They're not fans of the team anymore. And this is gonna happen again if the Padres leave. I hope this is nothing, but if she is suing and if she's filing a lawsuit against the brothers, like this is clearly a big deal. But um, the Padres belong in San Diego. And I know I've said a lot of shit about the Padres over the years. It's all documented on this damn podcast and on this damn account around the diamond. But at the end of the day, like, why? I just don't understand why would you want to leave San Diego? Why? You are San Diego Padres are like they're kings in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, they can't walk around the city of San Diego without getting recognized. That's how big they are in that city. It just, I don't know why do you want to move them? It just makes no sense to me. But um, I hope this gets settled and I hope this gets figured out because this Padre team has a lot of question marks going into 2025. And you've already had a Padre fan base that is already upset that they may have just missed their best chance to win a championship in 2024. They were arguably the best team coming into the postseason. They had my teams on the rope again, down up 2-1 with a home game at home, and they couldn't cash it in and win. So I really hope this gets settled. And I I don't even I know. I feel Peter Seiler, if he was here, he'd be extremely disappointed right now. He would be. Because he wanted the Padres to compete for championships, not figure out who's the owner and relocation and all this other crap. It's unfortunate, and I hope it gets settled soon.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly said. And my very first thought of all this was Peter Seidler was it kind of seemed like he was the glue of the family now. You know, he was the one who was keeping everybody in check. He was making both sides happy while putting a winning product on the field. And we can say what we want about the Padres and like, you know, they're choking in the playoffs or not being able to cash in, things like that. But at the end of the day, Peter Seidler put a winning product on the field because year after year, this team competed and they had a real shot at a World Series. Um, Obviously, that didn't happen, and obviously, there was a lot more problems going on behind closed doors than anybody in the public obviously saw. And you know, once Peter Seidler passed away, and kind of things were unraveling, we saw the financial issues. That was the reason why they traded Soto. Then, you know, you have all these contract on the books, like you mentioned, and now everything's starting to come to light, and it's very unfortunate for the fan base and for the team as a whole, because the Padres are they're I wouldn't call them historic, but like they are a very good franchise. You know,
They've been around for a long time too,
they have
since
they
the early '60s.
exactly they fit the there's not many teams that fit the city that they play in, right? Like to a T. Obviously, you got the Dodgers, you got the Yankees, and then you got the Cubs, the Red Sox. They fit the city. But the Padres, I would throw in there. You know, this is obviously a team who has a very loyal fan base, and it fits San Diego to a T. Fits San Diego as a city, the whole nine. And it's very unfortunate to see what's happening. And you know, it's very interesting because I don't know where this is going to go from here. Obviously, the lawsuit needs to be settled, um, but spring training's right around the corner. We have a little over a month until spring training comes, and there's a lot of question marks, man. And it's not only on the field. Now there's even more question marks with the ownership, and you know, obviously, Luis, we're going to be touching on this in a little bit. Luis Arraez is back in the rumor mill, and I can guarantee you it probably has to do with financial things again. You know, this is he's not making a ton of money, but they need to start unloading these superstar type players or players who will require a bigger payday. Um, so it's very unfortunate, and I don't want to see this team turn into a quote unquote smaller market team because they can't afford it. You know, they're already giving out these contracts that now they're stuck with. Xander Bogarts is the big one. They should have never signed him, never. And now it seems like ever since then they've just been going downhill. For years they could never compete, and then all of a sudden they bring in Manny Machado. He was kind of the first domino to fall. And then they brought in all of the supporting cast. Tatis came through the system after the trade with the White Sox, and they put themselves on the map. And it was so cool to see the Padres being good again because that city rallied behind them. And it's very unfortunate, you know, and I don't even want to think about this team relocating. You know, the relocating process, Rob Manfred has talked a lot about, and he said he wants to add at least another team in before his term ends. Well, that's 2029. So we still have 4 years until his term ends. And if we're talking about adding teams and we're talking about relocating, obviously the Athletics are already on the board. You know, Nashville has been in the rumor mill. Montreal with the Expos back in the day. There's a chance they could get a team again. There's talks about the Rays relocating. You know, there's certain teams in baseball that should not relocate, and I agree with you. The Padres are one of them. Um, they fit the city and they fit the mold, and unfortunately, this it's not looking good for their future. And I really hope that they decide not to relocate and then stay in San Diego. You know, I think the relocating process is it's a cop out for a lot of these teams. You know, John Fisher and the Athletics being included. Um, Oakland, Oakland is another city that's getting shit on year after year. They're losing all their sports teams, and San Diego lost the Chargers, like you mentioned. Um, it's very unfortunate to see where this team could be heading, but you know that's just the way it is, and unfortunately, that's what the reality is. But hopefully, this lawsuit can get settled, and you know, Padres fans can focus on baseball again, and not the ownership being in limbo and talks about relocating and the whole nine. Obviously, you don't want that. So, hopefully this thing gets worked out. The Padres stay in San Diego, and the Padres continue to put a winning product on the field. That's the win-win for everybody included. Um, the city of San Diego, the fans, and baseball fans as a whole. Um, Obviously, I mean, baseball's more exciting when Tatis is doing bat flips and Machado's playing well. Jackson Merrill came up last year and put on a show. That's what you want. And so hopefully everything gets worked out and this lawsuit can kind of go to bed and the Padres continue as business as usual. That's the hope. But my one takeaway from all of this is I think um, Seidler's death was a whole lot more important than what we originally thought. I think there was a whole lot going on behind the scenes that we really didn't know about. So, yeah, that's my takeaway from this.
Yep, very well said. Continuing with the Padres, you just mentioned it a second ago, Luis Arraez. There's rumors going around. Again, he might be moved, and I think now we're starting to know why that's a possibility. Um, However, well, this is not the Yankees, but John Heyman quickly said the Yankees are not interested. They do not
Supposedly.
see they do not see him as a fit in Yankee State as a Yankee. Um, I I mean I don't I I don't know what. Wouldn't you want Luis Arraez if you're a Yankee?
In my so in my mind, we lost Monsoda, right? You need to add bats into this lineup, and I love what they've done so far. I like the additions they made, but I don't feel it's enough. I don't feel Judge has that superstar next to him. So if you're not going to go the superstar route, then you need to add great role players to complement Aaron Judge. Luis Arraez hitting leadoff in this lineup, having Judge or Bellinger, whichever way you want to slice it, and then obviously you got the rest of the guys, Stanton, Wells, Goldschmidt's in there now, Volpe, guys like that. In my mind, offensively, you want him in that lineup. Now, I understand where they're coming from with Luis Arraez defensively. If you look at Luis Arraez's defensive metrics, they are worse than Gleyber Torres. And the whole reason why we didn't re-sign Gleyber Torres was because of his defense. And you don't want to add a guy into this defensive shift who's worse than the guy you just let go. Because at that point, you might as well just re-sign Gleyber Torres. Um, but this guy competes for a batting title year after year. He gets on base. That is what you want, especially when you have guys like Judge and Bellinger in this lineup. Um, and for me, his offense outweighs his defense to not go after him. And the Padres are up against the wall right now. You kind of take advantage of that. So you could get a rise for decently cheap, for a return. And, obviously the Padres and Yankees have done business before. And I feel like, that could be something you visit. I don't know if you can get a player of a Rise's caliber offensively to add into this lineup this late into the offseason. Obviously, you got a few free agents left on the board, but Alonso's asking for too much money. You already filled that hole, um, and there's not many trade partners left. And if Arraez is in, it's a guy who competes for a batting title year after year, man. He's the reason why Aaron Judge didn't win the Triple Crown in 2022. This is a guy you want to add into this lineup. So for me personally, I don't understand it because I feel like his offense outweighs the defense way too much to not go after it. Um, but hey, who am I to say? I don't know, but I wouldn't be shocked if Luis Arraez is calling another place home at the start of this upcoming season. I really wouldn't. Whether it's the Yankees, whether it's another team, whoever it is, I don't think he's going to be a Padre to start the 2025 season.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other teams that he would fit on and would make sense.
The thing is, man, like I feel he fits almost any team.
Right.
This is a guy who's you immediately slot him into the leadoff spot. No matter what team you are, this guy's hitting leadoff for you. There's not many better leadoff hitters than Luis Arraez. This is a guy who I feel can fit any team. And I mean, yeah, you just deal with what his defense gives you because he's that good with the bat. This guy can, I mean, he's getting on base at an extremely high level. And, it just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like any GM should be jumping at this opportunity right now. Because Luis, I mean, his bat, man, it speaks volume. It really does. And maybe it's because batting average isn't really valued as much anymore as it was back in the day, but this is a 300 hitter any given year. I don't know who wouldn't want that. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I really don't know what other team, like, I feel like he could fit any team.
Yeah, and a lot of teams would probably shove him as their DH anyways.
Yeah,
Like you don't even have to put him out there on defense.
agreed. And maybe
But
that's why the Yankees are out,
yeah,
because we have to pencil in Stanton at DH until the end of that contract.
try left field again.
I don't know.
No, okay.
I don't know about that, man. I mean, he'll be on the shelf within a few weeks. Then that's the way I look at it.
Um, one of the teams that was made sense. There was four teams that I've seen on this article.
Hmm.
The New York Yankees, the Seattle Mariners, the Detroit Tigers, and the last team you could cross their name out because they're no longer in the market for a second baseman, the Cincinnati Reds. Um, and today they made a trade with my team, the Dodgers, Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux is no longer a part of this Dodger team. He got traded for a prospect who I believe is in single A. And you want to know the funny thing about that is that the Dodgers actually drafted him in 2021. But um, he chose to go back to college, go back to school. So uh, Mike Sirota.
Mm.
So and they get a competitive balance pick, currently 37. So um, I really thought that the Gavin Lux was going to be in a trade for a bigger piece. There was rumors that Gavin Lux was going to be in that trade, in a potential trade for Devin Williams. Obviously that didn't happen. He went to the Yankees. Yeah. Um, listen, the Dodgers have been trying to trade Gavin Lux for 3 years now. It's been no secret. Um, he was one of the prominent prospects that came up through the system. Um, there was a point in time, and there was a point in time. There was three players that were literally untouchable. Like if you picked up the phone and wanted to talk trades with the Dodgers, if you mentioned any three of these names, Dodgers were immediately going to hang up the phone. Bobby Miller, Diego Cartaya, which he got the heave ho last week.
Shocking.
Um, yeah, wasn't really shocking to us. Like
Okay.
he was kind of losing it a little bit with the bat. Like so, and then Gavin Lux for years, like around 2017, 2018, before he made his debut in 2019. Gavin Lux was one of those players that if any team wanted to do a trade, if you mentioned Gavin Lux's name, Dodgers were hanging up the phone. Um, some Dodger fans are making him seem like he was a bum. Like he wasn't a bum. He wasn't a complete bum. Like he started the majority of the Dodger postseason games at second base. Um, the thing that really screwed him though was in 2023 when he had that awful leg injury,
Yeah.
trying to slide to third base, and that essentially, pretty much ended like any chance he had of being like this great player with the Dodgers. I'm not saying he can't find it in Cincinnati again or wherever else, but um, there were so many other players that the Dodgers gave up on so quickly.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Gavin Lux was the one guy that they were shoving him out there any way they can. They put this guy in center field for Christ's sake. At one point, they tried him in the outfield. Dodgers, up until pretty much I would say this season, were Gavin Lux believers that no, this is gonna work. Um, was it everything that the Dodgers probably planned and hoped to get out of him? No, but he won a championship. Like he was on a championship team, and he wasn't like this bum off the bench. Like he was playing second base. Now, when he came up through the system, he was originally supposed to be the starting shortstop, but it was disaster in 2023 during spring training. He had the yips, couldn't make the throws, and then he had that. Well, 2024, I should say. He was supposed to be the shortstop for the foreseeable future. He got called up to be a shortstop, but had the yips in spring training, which caused Mookie Betts to go to shortstop. Flipped over to second base. He was okay, but I know Freddie Freeman's back is a lot better now, knowing that he's not going to have to lean over and pick every ball that Gavin Lux throws to Freddie Freeman. But it sucks. But listen, and we'll get to this in a second, with the addition of Hyeseong Kim, which came out of nowhere last week, there was just no room for Gavin Lux. It was a very crowded infield. And the thing that separates Gavin Lux from all these other players, they're all utility guys.
Mhm.
Haesung Kim reportedly can play a little bit of short. He can play second, and he can even play left field if he really wants to. Mookie Betts, we saw him at shortstop, and we've seen him at second base. Tommy Edman, who they gave an extension to this offseason, he can play center field, he can play shortstop, but he can play second base, and we didn't even see him once. That's his primary position, second base, and we didn't even see him play that position once this year. Gavin Lux is just a second baseman. That's it. That's it. He has no value on this team. If you can't play multiple positions, except Will Smith, but he can play first if you really need to give Freddie a day off, and you have to keep Muncy at third. But even Muncy, he can play first base and second base if he really wanted to. But um, there was just no room for Gavin Lux anymore, and it sucks. But um, he had two pretty big at bats in the World Series. People are going to forget that, but he drove in the game tying run in the eighth inning of Game 5 when the Dodgers were making that comeback. And he also got a big walk in the bottom of the 10th inning that set up the Freddie Freeman grand slam in Game 1. So I don't want that to go on. I don't want that to be forgotten, because I've seen a lot of Dodgers Twitter taking, it seems like a lot of them. There's two Dodgers Twitters down the middle. You're either a Gavin Lux believer and you're devastated that he got traded today, or you're kind of leaning towards my side that is taking the little jabs left and right. But best of luck in Cincinnati. It sucks, but hey, man, he helped my team win a championship. I ain't gonna say anything bad. So
Yeah, I wasn't shocked to see that he was traded. Obviously, he's been in the rumor mill. Obviously, I didn't watch Gavin Lux come up through the system. You know, I'm not a Dodger fan, so obviously, why would I? Um, but I like this move for Cincinnati, and I think, I mean, obviously, Gavin Lux is a he's a veteran now, you know, and Cincinnati's a young team, and they shipped off Jonathan India to Kansas City earlier this year, or earlier this free agency, and Gavin Lux fills that need now, you know, and I I I like this move. I don't think Gavin Lux is terrible by any means. I think he's a solid player. But obviously he just wasn't panned out to be what the Dodgers needed or wanted. Um, I think it's a good opportunity for Gavin Lux, and he reminds me of the type of guy that, or the type of player that is, he's not he's not a valuable piece to a World Series contender, but he's a very valuable piece to a team like Cincinnati. That's where he falls, unfortunately. But he, like you said, he did what the Dodgers needed him to do, and ended up winning a World Series with them. You know, I don't know how much more you can ask out of a player. So good for Gavin Lux, and yeah, we'll obviously see where the rest of his career heads. And you know, I was for him. I wanted the Yankees to pick him up. I thought it would have been a very solid piece of second base, but that's the way it went. But I also do think I kind of want to touch on the whole versatility thing that you had mentioned about. A lot of teams are starting to value that versatility a
yep,
lot, because you can mess with that lineup in a million different ways. You look at a team. I'll take my team, like the Yankees. I just touched on it. Maybe the reason why they're not going after Luis Arraez is because of their need at DH. They have to play Stanton there, and that will cripple a team in some sort of way. But when you look at the Dodgers, you got a bunch of guys, and you mentioned it, you hit it on the head perfectly. You have guys who can play multiple positions. You have a superstar in Mookie Betts who can play damn near everywhere on the field. So obviously, the whole versatility thing, that is a very big, valuable asset nowadays, and the way baseball is going that I'm seeing. But overall, I think it's a good move for Cincinnati, and yeah, we'll see how Gavin Lux performs.
Yep, and now his replacement, uh, Hyeseong Kim, 3-year deal with my team. This was came out of nowhere. Um, from a lot of the reporters that I heard from over the weekend, they were surprised that the Dodgers got him. That was not somebody that they had on their radar, but um, this guy could play. Hit over 300 in the KBO for 8 seasons. Like I mentioned, he can play second base. He can play a little bit of shortstop, and he can play very little left field. But he's only 25. He was posted on December 5th. I like it. Hey, listen, I have to believe in the Guggenheim Group. I have to believe in Andrew Friedman, and I have to believe in Brandon Gomez. They know what they're doing. Um, another utility guy, another super utility guy that they can put anywhere. And you replace Gavin Lux with another lefty, so and Haesung Kim. So I like it. Now I've never seen a player get so much hate on Twitter just because he went to the Dodgers. These fan bases really got to get their head out of their ass. They're treating Haesung Kim like he's a franchise player or something.
Yeah,
Just because he went to the Dodgers, oh, it's horrible. You know, the whole thing started up again. Oh, it's horrible. How come Major League Baseball doesn't do something about this? You know, I saw somebody stupid was like, we have to stop letting these Japanese players on the Dodgers. I'm like, he's fucking Korean, you dumb fuck. It's like again, but
yeah,
I don't know much about him, but we'll see what he can do. And clearly, they're high on him if they're going to trade a proven MLB player in Gavin Lux. If they're just going to ship him out for a compensation pick and a prospect, they clearly believe that there's something there with this kid. So I like it.
yeah. Obviously, when you sign players out of the KBO and the other like foreign players, obviously it's no guarantee that they are going to make the transition over to Major League Baseball.
Nope.
You know, the KBO is totally different than Major League Baseball. It could be a total squander or it could end up being very good, and you're taking a huge gamble. You know, as many people, it was the same thing with Shohei Ohtani. He came over from Japan and there was no guarantee that he was going to work. Obviously, he did very well, but it's it's the gamble that is there, right? And I'm so glad you mentioned the whole like Dodger hate thing. Haesung Kim is not proven in the major league level. He's not. And just because he signed with the Dodgers, people are putting him on a pedestal and acting like he's the next Shohei Ohtani. We don't know if that's how it's going to be.
Would be
It could
nice.
be it would be, but at the same time, he could come in here and play like Jacoby Ellsbury did when he fucking signed with the Yankees. You never know. It's a hit or miss, and you just but obviously, I overall from his resume, I love this move for the Dodgers. You're getting a 300 hitter, and you're getting a guy who is a veteran of the KBO. It's still a professional league. Let's not forget that. This guy had to play at a level to be able to maintain his job. It's just like Major League Baseball. It's the same thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, super utility guy. He's a guy who can play at least three positions, and that's it's back to the whole versatility thing. That's valuable nowadays. And obviously the Dodgers see something in him, and I think it's a good move. I really do. From the eye test, he checks every box. Now it's just a matter of if the actions back it up, and we'll have to see how his play is coming into spring training and obviously the start of the season. Good move for the Dodgers, though.
Yep. A couple smaller moves here. Mike Lorenzen, um, 1 year deal with the Kansas City Royals. And then this one, good old 41-year-old Charlie Morton, 1 year, 15 million to go to Baltimore. I mean, listen, if you're a Baltimore fan, what do you? What I can't imagine how disgusted the Baltimore fan must feel right now. You lost Corbin Burns to the Diamondbacks. You replace him with um, Charlie Morton, which I'm making it seem like he's not a bad pitcher. Like he's gonna
No.
give you innings, and he at least is gonna go out there every fifth day and pitch. He's gonna compete,
Yeah.
but and now you're probably gonna lose Santander. Like, listen, the Baltimore Orioles are quickly turning into one of the losers of this free agent of 2024 2025 free agency. We're gonna do that coming up in a couple weeks here, where we're gonna give our three winners and losers. I have the Baltimore Orioles right up there as one of my losers.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, they were so close to winning the division against the Yankees in 2024, back to back postseason appearances, and they're kind of wasting that a little bit. Like, I heard when the Baltimore Orioles brought in this new ownership that they were going to be big spenders.
Yeah.
Now I understand part of it. You got to lock down, some of your homegrown guys. You got to lock down Gunnar Henderson. You got to lock down Adley Rutschman, but you can spend money on the other parts of the roster, guys. Like, it doesn't have to just be the homegrown talent. But
Yeah.
I don't know what Baltimore's doing, but I mean, you have to do something. But I just didn't think that Charlie Morton was something. I don't know. I'm very down on the Baltimore Orioles. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's completely understandable. I am in total agreement with you. I This was a team I told you from the very beginning when they sold the team, and Cal Ripken was a part of the ownership, and the new ownership coming in and saying that they were going to spend money, they were going to put the Orioles back on the map and make them a proud franchise again. Um, I was scared, man. I really was. This was a team who already had all of these great prospects coming up, and they're now proven prospects, and you can slot those guys in your everyday lineup. They looked like a scary team, man. And then you have all of a sudden bombshell dropped on all the fan bases of the AL East, other than the Orioles, that this new ownership's coming in and they're willing to spend money. And then they traded for Corbin Burns, and I was like, son of a bitch, man. Like, it's happening already. Like, damn, I was banking on maybe getting a few more seasons out of Baltimore being bad, but they looked like they were going to be a force to be reckoned with, and they were going to shoot themselves straight up to the top of the American League and compete for the pennant every single year. Um, and yeah, I can't agree more. I don't like what they've done this offseason. Obviously, losing Corbin Burns is huge, man. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and now it's my understanding they tried to get him back.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, you can't necessarily fault the Orioles for trying to get him back, but he just wanted to go to Arizona. But then you turn around and you get Charlie Morton, and then they're in the rumor mill with Jack Flaherty. You already had him. And yeah, he won a World Series last year, and he kind of he was looking pretty good. Everything else, but you lost Corbin Burns. You got to do something to get that back in some sort of way. And like you said, they're going to lose Santander, who I feel is kind of like the heart and soul of that team. He's been there for years. He was there through the bad days, and now, he was kind of their star player there for a little while. Um, so it's not necessarily a great offseason for the Orioles. I don't like what they've done. And, Charlie Morton, yeah, he's solid. Don't get me wrong. But he's obviously on the tail end of his career. Best days are behind him. And he's not necessarily the replacement you want for Corbin Burns. Now, obviously, there's plenty of free agency to go. But if I was a Baltimore fan, man, I'd be pissed. I really would be. Um, that's
yeah.
kind of
Not
my
to
take.
mention that. Not to mention that Brandon Hyde is one bad move away from getting fired. If
Yeah,
they miss the postseason next season, or if they get into the postseason and they're a no show again, he's out. He's out
yeah,
of a job.
I
So
agree.
you got the Orioles going in the wrong direction. This is not good. They just got back to the top, like
Yeah.
not to the not where I'm at. We're up here. You guys, everybody else is down here. But like to not being a laughable franchise. Like the Orioles they've been good for 2 years now,
Yeah.
and now they're kind of going back in this direction a little bit,
It
and I
feels
don't
like
like it.
yeah, I agree. I mean, as a baseball fan, I don't like it at all. It feels like they're going back in their own ways and kind of banking on the whole draft thing again and developing prospects. Like, yeah, that'll get you far, but it'll only get you so far. You need to spend money in free agency to be able to complement these guys who you're pushing through the farm system. Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson cannot carry this team to a World Series, especially the last two. I believe it was 2 years ago when they first made the postseason. We said it was their pitching staff that got them in trouble. Then they go out and get Corbin Burns. Great. Now you're attacking what got you knocked out of the postseason just a year ago. But now you lose Corbin Burns, and then you're bringing in these veterans who that was the plan beforehand. It's like you gotta go out and you have to spend money, or because you're so high on your farm system, trade guys to get these guys back in return, like they did with Corbin Burns. Um, yeah, man, it's obviously it's disappointing to see. As a Yankee fan, I love it. Just just keep going
Oh
in this
yeah.
thing. I don't care. But no, I completely understand it from a baseball side of things, and I feel for the Baltimore fan. I really do. Now, before I forget about Michael Lorenzen here, he had a nice year in Kansas City last year.
Yes.
He really did.
I didn't mean to just brush right over him, but
I'm trying to be able to give him his flowers a little bit, but no, Michael Lorenzen back with Kansas City, back where he found success last year. It's a 1 year, $7 million deal. I think it's a good deal for both sides. Michael Lorenzen, he's another guy who he saw success a few years ago, but then kind of couldn't find a forever home. And hey, maybe for the rest of his career, he stays in Kansas City. Good for him. But no, I like this move for Kansas City. They're a young franchise. They got some good young arms in that rotation. And you add a guy like Michael Lorenzen, who can obviously give that veteran presence, but he can also take the ball every fifth day. And he can give you a reasonable amount of innings. Obviously, starting pitching is kind of wearing thin nowadays. Bullpens are more important than ever. But no, I love this move. He's obviously been a solid pitcher his entire career. Um, no, I think it's a good move for both sides. 1 year, it's obviously very low risk. And if he doesn't work out, you could trade him at the deadline, that kind of thing. So I like it. Good for Michael Lorenzen.
yep, and good for the Royals too. Pretty much
Yeah,
bringing the whole band back with the pitching
pretty
staff.
much.
So I think that's gonna do it for episode 110.
I think
Unless you
so.
got anything else.
I don't think so. No,
Some of these free agents gotta hurry up.
they do. Pete Alonso. Hopefully, we'll be talking about him next week
Yeah, as I'm
when he
hopefully going back
inevitably
to the Mets.
when he inevitably goes back to the Mets.
Hopefully Tanner Scott is a Dodger next week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's on my radar. That's the kind of guy I want.
Or how about this? Can we? Well, Roki Sasaki can't sign until after the 15th, but
Correct.
hopefully he signs right away.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one because his market has it's kind of gone a few different ways now. It's not just the Dodgers that are included.
No,
So
yeah, he's maybe willing to play outside of like California,
he might be. I from my understanding, he's kind of from the reports and stuff. He's kind of open to wherever. So
which good for him. Like
yeah,
I don't want players to just It seems like Yamamoto. It was like Dodgers or nothing.
yeah, pretty much.
So I'm glad Sasaki is more open. But I mean, hey, Dodgers are still here.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
We're still here. If you still have a soft landing spot with us if you need it. Um. All right, 110 in the books. That's gonna do it. We'll see you next week. Adios.